I never liked moving. The thought of packing my life into boxes always unsettled me. Yet, when I found the apartment at 42 Eastwood Street, I had no choice. The rent was cheap, and I needed to get out before my parents noticed. The building was old, 3 stories of brick with a rusty fire escape and peeling paint. An empty lot beside it was overgrown with weeds, giving it a sense of isolation. I thought I would enjoy that isolation at first. The landlord was a small man, shaking slightly, handing me the keys without looking at me. He muttered something about the history of tenants, but I didn't ask. I moved in on a Thursday evening, the apartment smelling of mildew and old wood. I arranged my boxes along the walls and placed my small lamp in the living room. By midnight, exhausted, I fell asleep, unaware that the apartment had begun to whisper. I woke to the faintest creak above me. It wasn't the usual floorboard settling. It was deliberate. Someone was walking above me, slowly, rhythmically, like a metronome. I told myself it was a neighbor, though the top floor had been empty for months. Over the next few days, the footsteps became routine. Morning, afternoon, late at night. Sometimes they paused directly above my bedroom. I left small notes on the floor. "I know you are there," written tiny, more for my sanity than anyone else's. No response ever came. Then the sounds changed. The steps were now accompanied by a soft humming, a tune I did not recognize but felt oddly familiar. It was slow, deliberate, as if the apartment itself were alive. I confided in my coworker Lena, always fascinated by ghost stories. She joked, maybe it's a ghost, or someone illegally living above you. I laughed, but the sound felt hollow in my empty apartment. By the second week, the humming turned into whispers, words I could not understand, repeating in the same rhythm as the footsteps. I tried recording them, but playback revealed nothing but static. My rational mind insisted on explanations, building noises, wind, animals in the vents, but instinct screamed otherwise. One night, I awoke to a cold hand on my shoulder. I jumped, heart pounding. No one was there, but I found a note, folded, unseen before, on my desk. I don't remember placing it. Written in fine script were the words, "Do not look up." I froze. My body trembled. The apartment seemed to hold its breath. I didn't understand the meaning and tried to ignore it, but curiosity gnawed at me. The next morning, I went for coffee, noticing my pale reflection in the cafe window. The barista, Troy, said, "You're new here, right?" I nodded. He added, "Beware the old buildings on Eastwood. People rarely stay long. There's something about the 3rd floor." I laughed nervously, thinking it a superstition. He didn't smile. He said, "They say the tenant above never leaves, and sometimes takes those below with him."
That night, the footsteps were louder than ever. They moved across the ceiling with urgency, pacing back and forth. The whispers became clearer, though I still could not comprehend the words. I felt a presence in the room, something unseen but undeniably real. I tried to sleep with my lamp on, but the light flickered violently, casting monstrous shadows. I told myself I was imagining things, that exhaustion was playing tricks on me. Then came the tapping on the window. Soft, deliberate, like fingernails dragging across glass. I froze, unable to breathe. It stopped as suddenly as it started. I dared not look out, remembering the note, "Do not look up." Days turned into a blur of fear and paranoia. I stopped inviting friends over. I barely ate, barely spoke. The apartment had become my entire world, and it whispered constantly. Even when I left, the empty lot seemed to pulse with the same rhythm as the footsteps above. One evening, I found a door in the corner of my living room that I had never seen before. It was small, wooden, with scratches all over it. I hesitated, hand hovering over the knob. A whisper seemed to hiss directly into my ear, urging me to open it. I forced myself to ignore it, but curiosity became unbearable. The next night, I turned the knob slowly. The door creaked, revealing a narrow staircase spiraling upwards. It led to the empty top floor, the space above my apartment. The air was cold, and a faint fog hugged the wooden floorboards. I stepped cautiously, each creak of the wood echoing ominously. The walls were covered in scratches, symbols, and words I could not understand. A shadow darted across the far end of a hallway. I held my breath, heart pounding in my chest. The shadow moved closer, yet no footsteps followed. I felt its gaze before I saw it. A tall, thin figure, shrouded in tattered cloth, eyes hollow and black, watching me. I stumbled back, tripping over a loose floorboard. The figure vanished instantly, leaving only the whispering behind. I ran down the stairs, slammed the door, and locked it. But I knew it was no longer confined to that floor. It had followed me, into my apartment, into my mind.
I could no longer ignore the whispers. They followed me everywhere, in every room, even in my dreams. Sleep became a nightmare I could not escape. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the shadow, towering and silent. It waited in corners, behind doors, even reflected in the mirror when I looked away. The mirror became my worst enemy. Its surface would ripple unnaturally, showing glimpses of that hollow figure. I tried to cover it, but the glass seemed to breathe with its own dark life. Food lost its taste, laughter became impossible, and the walls seemed to close in. I wrote messages to myself on scraps of paper, desperate to maintain sanity. Do not open the door. Ignore the shadows. But even the notes could not protect me. One evening, the humming grew louder, almost like chanting. I could make out phrases, though the language was alien. My head throbbed as if the building itself was drilling into my skull. I began to notice small changes in the apartment, furniture subtly shifting positions overnight, walls appearing scratched where I swore they were clean. And the fog, always the fog, creeping into corners I had never seen before. The landlord had warned me vaguely, but I had dismissed him. Now I understood. There was a reason tenants did not stay long. They were claimed. The top floor was a trap, a prison for those foolish enough to dwell beneath it. I considered leaving, but every attempt to walk out ended in disorientation. The hallways twisted impossibly, stairs elongated, and doors led back into rooms I had never entered before. It was a labyrinth controlled by something sentient, something malevolent. My phone lost signal, my keys disappeared, and the door I had locked no longer resisted me. The shadow appeared at the threshold, taller than before, silent and imposing. It did not move toward me, it simply waited, as though testing my fear. I could feel its patience, infinite and relentless. Then it whispered directly into my mind, a voice that was not a voice, deep and cold. You belong here now. Panic surged, but my body refused to obey. I wanted to run, to scream, to fight, but I was frozen, paralyzed by the weight of the apartment's malevolence. I turned slowly, knowing that looking at it could seal my fate. Its hollow eyes met mine through the reflection of the window. Everything around me blurred, the walls stretching and folding, the ceiling twisting. The whispers intensified, a cacophony of voices, each layer of sound piercing deeper into my mind. I stumbled backward, hitting the wall, and then felt the floor vanish beneath me. It was as if the apartment itself inhaled and swallowed me whole.
I woke up on the floor of my apartment, drenched in sweat. The lamp had burned out, leaving the room in darkness. The fog lingered, thick and choking, curling around my legs. I could hear the whispers clearly now, each word sharp and accusing. I tried to speak, but my voice was gone. The shadow was there. Not in the reflection, not in the corner, but everywhere at once. It pressed into my mind, a cold weight that stole my thoughts. I realized I could not leave. The apartment had claimed me, bound me to its twisted reality. I ran blindly, colliding with walls that should not have been there. Doors led to rooms I had never seen and yet somehow remembered. It was alive, conscious, and hungry. I collapsed in the center of the living room, gasping for air. The shadow circled me, a predator examining its prey. It whispered promises I could not comprehend, threads of fear wrapping around my sanity. Time lost meaning. Minutes stretched into hours, hours into eternities. I could feel myself slipping, fading into the darkness that seemed to pulse from the apartment itself. Then, in a brief instant of clarity, I saw it. Through the fog, the shadows, the distortion, the previous tenants, trapped as I now was, their hollow eyes staring from the walls and floorboards. They were part of it, absorbed into the building, their identities erased. My reflection in the broken mirror finally showed me clearly. I was no longer fully myself. The shadow merged with me, its hollow gaze piercing through mine. I understood then. I had become another tenant, another whisper, another warning. The apartment exhaled, a sigh of satisfaction, and the fog retreated slightly. The room looked normal again, deceptively calm. But I knew the truth. I was never leaving. I would walk the floors, hum the alien tune, and tap on the windows. I would wait for the next tenant and guide them as I had been guided into the apartment's grasp. The city moved outside, oblivious to the horrors hidden above the ground floor. I was silent now, but always watching, always listening. And the apartment waited, patient as ever, for someone new to cross its threshold. No one ever notices the top floor. No one ever survives the whispers. I am part of it now, and soon you will be too.